Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is Barrister Waqas Aziz Qureshi, and I am the Director General of the Strategic Studies Institute, Islamabad. Today marks a very special day in the history of Pakistan. 28th May 1998 is the day when Pakistan for the first time showed the world that it is now a nuclear-powered nation and that it had joined that elite group of nuclear-powered nations. Today we have received a very special message from Dr. Shireen Mazari, the Federal Minister for Human Rights, the former Director General of the Institute, and an overall authority on arms control and disarmament and strategic matters. Before we move to Dr. Mazari's message, I would like to inform our viewers that over the next few weeks, we will be exploring those steps that Pakistan has taken in regards to 1998's event, which demonstrate that Pakistan is a responsible nuclear nation, be it the promulgation of the National Command Authority Act of 2010 or the Pakistan Nuclear Regulatory Authority Act of 2000, and why it has played such a significant role in telling the international community that Pakistan is in fact a responsible nuclear nation. With that, we move to the message that Dr. Mazari has left for us. We're very thankful for the time that she's taken out and shared her views on the subject.
May 1998 was a historic occasion for Pakistan. After waiting for over 2 decades for the world to take attention and do something about India's nuclearization, after India had tested in 1974, Pakistan decided that it would have to also become overtly nuclear by doing nuclear testing. This had to happen because the world took absolutely no notice or action against India's nuclear ambitions. In fact, since 1974, India was building up its nuclear capability, and then in May 1998, India did 2 overt tests yet again, and the world kept silent. So after 2 weeks of the Indian tests, Pakistan was pushed to doing a nuclear test, which it did very successfully and became part of the elite nuclear weapons club internationally. So why did Pakistan do this? Because it needed to re-establish a strategic balance in the region and to counter India's strategic strength, especially in terms of conventional weapons build-ups, which Pakistan could never match given limited resources. It also realized that the world will accept India as a nuclear weapon power. And despite Pakistan's yearly attempts at the UN General Assembly to somehow establish a nuclear weapon-free zone in South Asia, to somehow keep South Asia free from nuclearization, it never worked. None of these efforts worked. Although in many other parts of the world, nuclear weapon-free zones were being established and accepted by the 5 de jure nuclear weapon states who are permanent members of the UN Security Council also. So within this background, in a way, Pakistan had no option but to go for overt nuclearization. Frankly, in my view, this was the right thing to have done. In fact, I have always maintained that Pakistan should have exercised the nuclear option given its strategic threats and its lack of spatial depth. Pakistan, unlike India, still sought to have some sort of a low nuclear presence in South Asia. So it suggested a number of alternatives to India. For example, a zero missile regime, which India rejected, both countries declaring simultaneously that they will not acquire second strike capability, which again India rejected. So all efforts at arms control and stabilization of the nuclear deterrence at a low level were rejected by India. Pakistan still focused primarily on developing medium-range strategic missiles because it felt that this would be enough to keep the strategic, credible nuclear deterrence. This in the face of India's expanding nuclear weapon systems development from space-launched systems to second strike capability, nuclear submarines, and so on. But suddenly Pakistan was then confronted with another dilemma, a strategic dilemma, and that was India's development of its cold start doctrine and its acquisition of anti-ballistic missile systems. Cold start basically was India's attempt to overcome the strategic nuclear stalemate by having a strategy whereby they thought that they would have a swift, rapid air-land attack on Pakistan in the south, capture some territory, international community would move in, and Pakistan would not be able to respond, and there would be some bargaining that India could do after holding on to this captured Pakistani territory. Also, it called into question Pakistan's strategic deterrence because it seemed irrational that Pakistan would use its strategic medium-range missiles to do a strategic nuclear attack on India in response to a very limited tactical attack by India. So, Pakistan then had to rethink its strategy of developing just strategic missiles, medium-range missiles, and it finally developed the Nasr tactical weapon, a short-range missile. The American strategists went crazy saying this is a bad idea and Pakistan has gone crazy. They will use this weapon in a battlefield in Pakistan, Pakistani territory, its own people will be affected. This is absolutely nonsense, absolute rubbish. The Nasr is a tactical weapon to be used against advancing Indian nuclear forces on Indian territory. It is absolutely not a battlefield weapon to be used on the Pakistani battlefield. So let's be clear about that. And the development of the Nasr has re-established the overall strategic and tactical nuclear balance, and therefore has made the deterrence credible again in South Asia. And as a result of this, the onus now is on India to have more rational, less hysterical, warlike policies, because it cannot afford false flag operations, it cannot afford adventurism, because if it takes the risk of such adventurism, no one knows how such an adventure will end, because both countries are not just nuclear armed, but they are armed not just with strategic nuclear weapons, but with tactical nuclear weapons also. And if India all continues its adventurism of acquiring ABM systems, of developing space-based missiles, then Pakistan will have to increase the number of missiles and warheads it has. So at some stage, rationality and sense demands that India give up its warlike posturing and come to the dialogue table with Pakistan, not only to move towards conflict resolution of the major conflicts that exist, especially the Kashmir conflict, but also to do some number crunching in terms of nuclear missiles and nuclear warheads. That is the only way for a stable South Asia for the future.